What's the biggest experience with failure you've had?
Probably my first marriage.
All right, first guest of the day. Who do we have here?
Hey, I'm Aaron.
Who do we have here today?
Yasmin.
Yasmin?
Yes.
Where are you from, Yasmin?
From the UK, Essex.
Essex?
Yeah.
What are you doing in Melbourne?
I live and work here.
Oh, nice.
It's actually my second time over here, so
Oh, wow.
yeah.
How
love
long
it.
are you staying for this time?
One-way ticket, so...
Wow. Why the move over?
Well, I lived here in 2022, like I was on exchange, and I loved it. I just loved Melbourne.
Where did you grow up?
In London.
In London?
Yeah.
When did you come to Australia?
Came to Australia when I was about 6 years old.
Okay. How
Yeah.
come?
My sister was pretty sick and they thought the weather here would be better for her, a bit of a warmer climate.
Oh, interesting. And
Yeah.
was that right? Was that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. She had pretty bad skin condition before, but she's fully fine now.
What do you do for work, Yasmin?
I'm a barista at a cafe in Fitzroy.
Oh, nice. So, but that's why you came over here, or why
No.
Australia? Why Melbourne?
Oh, why Australia? Because I love the people, I love the culture. I think there's like less pressure on like careers and like just life in general. I feel like people are just a lot more accepting of like what you want to do. And I enjoy the weather. The weather's so much better.
can
I know
imagine.
Melbourne's not like the hottest, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's better than the UK.
Would you consider your life ordinary?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I feel like I like to really live. I like to really take a lot in and do like the most I can. Probably because I'm living abroad, I like to say yes to everything. So
Okay.
yeah.
What about your life is not ordinary?
Well, I guess my dad's from Libya and all my family live in Libya. So that's kind of been interesting growing up like half English, half Libyan.
Okay.
And my family are quite like conservative Muslim and I'm not. So that was interesting when I like have met my family. Like I don't really fit in necessarily with them. So yeah, I'm probably moving out here. Quite fun, different thing to do.
What's your earliest memory?
Oh, probably kind of random, but like my dad would sometimes take me to go for porridge at this like place on a roundabout, and I know that we went like when I was like 3, but like it's such a vivid thing for me, like, and I always chat about it. And my mum's always like, "Is that really like the overriding like memory from your childhood?"
On a roundabout?
No, it's literally on a roundabout, like off the side of a motorway in Essex. Like it's like the most like weird place. And my mum's like, "Oh, great."
What's the difference between English people and Australian people?
I think Australian people are a lot more relaxed and easygoing, and I think are happier. I feel like English people really like, it's very materialistic, always wanting more, and I think never satisfied. And I find Australian people are a lot more happy with what they have.
Yeah.
I feel like English people, it's all very competitive, and I don't always love that. I think sometimes you just like be happy for what you have and enjoy life instead of always looking for that next thing.
Do you think Australia's drinking culture is good?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the UK is probably heavier drinking. Yeah, I think so. A lot heavier on the going out. And that's one thing I actually like here. It's like, I feel like there's a lot of, like for instance, like the Premier League at home. If you were going to go watch a football match as an English football, it's very, drug heavy, and that's it. And it's almost like that almost overrides the actual sporting event. Whereas like here with the AFL, I think it's so nice. Like I feel very safe as a woman going. I don't feel like, obviously have a drink, but it's not like that horrible, rowdy, like aggressive atmosphere.
Wow, that's interesting because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would
say
say the opposite.
Australians would say that.
Yeah.
And they have said that to me, but I think, I guess growing up in the UK is a lot more aggression.
Do you not feel like you've seen the binge drinking, heavy drug use culture of Australia? Yeah.
No, I do think I probably have.
Yeah.
And I love to go out. I love to go out.
Yeah.
So I definitely have. I just think it's just very different in a different way in the UK. Everything's a lot cheaper in the UK, so it's a lot more accessible. And I think there's a lot more binging of it because you could be anyone and you can get like doing whatever you want to do.
What's your relationship like with social media?
I think unhealthy in the sense that I spend far too much time on my phone, and that aggravates me. I would actually hate to know how many hours I waste my life away, and it does stop me doing things. You know, one minute I'm going to clean my room, and the next minute I've sat down on my bed and it's an hour has passed. And so I think it makes me very unproductive. But I have a healthy relationship in the sense that, like, I definitely I'm not like, I don't like look at like models on there and think, oh, I wish that was me or I wish that was my life. Like I feel very like confident and like happy in myself. I don't use social media in that way. It's just more, to be honest, a time distracting thing.
What age do you think kids should get social media?
I think really late. I think as late as possible. I know that in Australia they've just put a law, I think, in place.
They're trying to pass it.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I'm so at home. I obviously don't know what it's like there, but at home growing up, I think it's so destructive. I think not just like wasting people's time and energy, but also like bullying. Like you never, you know, if you get bullied at school back in the day, you went home. That was like you could escape. There was a place to escape. Now, like social media is consuming. You can never escape. You go home, which is meant to be a safe place, and it's still there. You're still going to get, you know, bullied or whatever it is. So I think the later the better, 16.
What age should kids get social media?
I think there's a fair bit of research out there to show that it does affect young developing minds, and I know it's changed a lot since I was that age. I think the current push to 16 plus is probably a good thing. I think that's it may be best just to help kids develop a little bit normally for a while, but still allow them to interact in person, face to face with each other. I think it's a good balance.
Do you think there's an element of neglecting their education when social media is such an important part of knowledge and intelligence to be able to function in the world career-wise?
For sure. No, I know there's been a lot of debate about whether YouTube, for example, should be included or not in the upcoming ban, and I think there's a lot of scope for it to be used constructively, but also just because of the way the world is, it can also go in a negative direction. So some form of regulation, I think, is probably a good idea to allow kids to still be able to interact, but in a controlled environment that doesn't get out of control.
Is Australia's drinking culture good?
I don't think it's a good thing when you look at things like the health statistics and that sort of thing, and you know the number of people who are quite severely affected by alcohol use. I think, you know, in moderation everything's great, but sometimes the culture it encourages people towards overconsumption, which is not a good thing.
What's your relationship been with alcohol?
Oh, I don't drink myself, and I guess partly that's been shaped by some of the effects I've seen alcohol have on people, on family members and that sort of thing.
All right, who are we here with?
April is my name.
April.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
And what's your name?
Rashid.
Nice to meet you.
That's the first person that has asked me that back today.
Hey, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Are you from Melbourne?
Yes, I am.
Born and raised?
Yes.
Who do we have here?
My name is Dashan.
Dashan.
Dashan Phillips.
Are you from Melbourne, Dashan?
Originally, Sri Lanka.
What do you do for a career?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
Okay.
So I do art on this, but that doesn't really make me any money.
What type of art?
I make music and I run events. And I do film as well, but mainly music stuff.
Okay, what music?
I make, like, I guess you would say folk, country, kind of. I'm trying to make some like ambient music as well, and I curate some events as well that's different, all over the place kind of stuff, electronic and...
Nice.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka originally, but I've lived in 5 countries, migrated 7 times.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Why so much moving?
Just that little thing called war.
Okay.
for some of it, and then
Yeah.
for some of it was opportunity.
Do you feel the pressure with the fact that you don't have a schedule?
Yeah.
Do you feel the pressure of creating art because obviously art is the type of thing that, for me anyway, is the most enjoyable when it's kind of done in leisure.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to make it your career and
Yeah.
you've got a lot of free time and stuff to do that, does that place pressure on the art and somewhat ruin the purity of it for you?
I've thought about that a lot because I've had so much free time. It is really tricky. I wake up and I have to be my own boss, and I have to make sure that I'm not being lazy. Like a lot of the times, like this week, I honestly had a pretty bad week. I woke up at like midday most days, lounge around, didn't shower till like 3. But some days I'll wake up 10, I'll go for a bike ride, I'll come home, I'll make some music, I'll go back out, I'll go to the shops, and I'll be really productive. It's literally all about your mindset on the day, and it's really hard to control. And sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. But I do think it affects the way that you make that, like, the kind of quality of your art, for sure. But I don't think that I do have a belief that I don't think you have to have a job and do art on the side for it to actually work. Does that make sense? I think that you can not have a job and do art, and even if you don't have much money, I think you can still be productive.
What parameters can you put on yourself, or do you put on yourself to help you be productive?
Just not going on my fucking phone. Like, it's my phone. Like, if I leave my phone at home, I'll be so productive. If I'll turn my phone off, I'll be so productive. But it's literally, I think that most people are scared to admit. I'll happily admit it. I am so unbelievably addicted to my phone, and it is the killer of me. It's the killer of my social life. It's the killer of like my art, and so I need to just stay off my phone.
Social media?
Yeah.
What's your tonic of choice?
Instagram.
Okay.
Easily.
Okay.
Especially that Instagram Reels is a thing. It's ridiculous. Because I deleted TikTok and I was so proud of myself, and now I'm like addicted to Instagram. It's.
Yeah.
I find myself. I want to be like a stern person myself, but it's so hard when Instagram exists.
Yeah. What age do you think kids should have access to social media?
That's the thing. Is like, I don't think there should be any restrictions on that, because kids will always figure out a way to go around it. I think it's literally about self-discipline and also parents. Like, I wish my parents kind of told me to stay off my phone more.
Yep.
I think it's as simple as that. Like, you just need to teach. You need to teach it. You can't force that, I don't think.
How did COVID change your life?
COVID changed my life drastically. I was in very formative years of my life. I was 16. I was going through school. I was learning so much about myself while not being able to see any of my friends. And I actually had a really depressing year during COVID. Like, I was fucked. I was really not in a good state. And I missed out on a lot. But I don't know. It kind of did change me as well, in the sense that I now have this formative thing that I share with so many people.
What about career-wise?
What I wanted to do back then?
Well, yeah. Did it affect it?
Yeah, I was just working shitty jobs. I was living at home. I always knew that I kind of wanted to do art, but maybe that's why COVID was a good thing. I got to like watch a million movies and listen to a bunch of music and like make a bunch of art at home. And so maybe part of me is like grateful that I had that time alone with my siblings and like my family to like just really focus on art and not have to worry about anything else. So like, I don't know.
You said that you had a depressive period through that.
Yeah.
How did you get yourself out of that?
I think it was by dropping out and moving out. I wasted a whole year at home, because I'm like I'm a people's person. I have to go out all the time to like be happy, and so I instantly just like dropped everything and just like moved out of home and just like went balls to the wall doing shit.
Is Australia's drinking culture good?
No. I think we have I think our gambling culture is worse though. I think that's sadder.
Yeah.
But I think they probably coexist.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah. What's your relationship with partying and socializing and drinking?
I drink too much. I definitely drink too much. But part of me excuses it by being like I'm young. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my body too much. And everyone I'm around drinks too much, you know. It's one of those things.
How do you think it affects your art?
I think it definitely affects my art in a way of I wish that I took more time to do my art, but a lot of times I'm like, I'd rather drink a bottle of wine with my friends. So sometimes I do fall into that trap.
Do you think though that there's some element in art? I know when I was like writing music and playing music, I romanticized pain and struggle. Definitely.
Yeah.
But a lot of that was inspiration to produce art. Do you think that those things coexist or are necessary? Do you think struggle, pain, sadness, the negative sides of emotion, do you think they're necessary for good art?
I think those things have made amazing art, but I don't think it's necessary. I think that there has been great art made without that. Well, it's tricky, right? Everybody's felt pain. Everybody's been sad. Everybody's felt depression, like some sort of depression, whatever. They've lost someone, whatever. But I don't think that I need to drink and see my friends and go through these tough things and to make good art. I don't think so.
Yep. What do you do for your career?
I'm an actor, yoga teacher, do some gardening, landscaping.
Nice.
Yeah,
Would you consider your life ordinary?
definitely not.
Or what about your life is not ordinary?
Well, I've always been the outsider, and being a nomad, someone who's migrated so many times, I always feel like what is ordinary is what if someone has lived in the same place their whole life, done the same thing over and over again. I'm a chameleon, so I don't know what ordinary is. I'm just attempting to be ordinary, but I'm
In each place?
In each place, yeah.
Which place do you think had the biggest impact on you?
Every
Who you are
place
today?
I was in. I mean, I've lived in Australia and Melbourne for 25 years, so this has had the longest impact. But every place that I've been to, I've basically shed old skin and adorned anew. So I've learned a lot from each place in different ways.
What's your earliest memory?
The 1983 July riots when I was 1 in Sri Lanka, when my family were being housed behind a friend's house in an attempt to get away from mobs of rioters burning Tamils for being Tamil, and we're Tamil.
Oh my gosh, how old were you at that time?
1.
You remember it?
I don't remember a lot of it, but I
Yeah.
remember a bit of it. Yeah, I like a visual, like a snapshot of it.
Yeah. Did you say you left at 6 years old?
I left, first time I left Sri Lanka was 4.
Okay. And then,
Yeah.
okay, so you went back? And then
Yeah.
left again and went back?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and how did you end up in Melbourne?
From Auckland, my mum said that she wanted to go to Melbourne to check it out, to see if there was a better life and better opportunity. And I said I was going to join her. And so then the family just came and we never left.
Yeah. Last few years have been interesting. How did COVID impact your life?
Had a child.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Had a COVID baby.
Wow.
And she's a miracle child, but I'm no longer with the partner. But yeah, best thing to ever happen to me.
How old is the child now?
3.
What's her name?
Mishka Ray.
What is one thing about her that makes her special?
She's present, more present than I can possibly fathom being, and I feel like her grasp of the language is quite supernatural. At 3, I'm having full-blown adult conversations with her. She asked me the other day, Papa, why do people do yoga? And I had to explain to her, to a 3-year-old, why people needed to do yoga.
Yeah.
And she kind of listened to me, and she got it. And I could see she got it.
Why do people need to do yoga?
Well, the explanation I gave to my 3-year-old was, you know how when you're playing, you can just play? And when you're talking to someone, you can just talk to someone? I said, when you get older, we get so caught up in things that happened to us in the past and things that we're worried about happening in the future that we can't just be there in the present. So we're just trying to be more like you, Mishka.
Yeah.
Do you get it? And she's like, yeah. And then she looked outside and she was looking out in the window, checking things out.
How frequently do you do yoga?
I live in yoga.
Yeah.
So I don't do yoga, I live yoga.
What other spiritual practices do you do?
What other?
Spiritual practices would you
I fundamentally am interested in a practice that brings tantra, yoga, performance, and being in the present all together at one. Yeah. Tantra, as opposed to yoga, is knowing that the world lives in ebbs and flows. So good times, bad times, good times, bad times. That's how the world works. And a tantric practitioner surfs that wave. Yoga denies the wave and detaches from everything and then simply lives in bliss because he's not attached to an outcome.
Okay, excuse my ignorance. I thought Tantra was a sexual practice, essentially.
Is one aspect of the philosophy. Yeah. Sexual practice. So, sexually, when you're talking about Tantra, it's about being able to breathe with your partner, flow with your partner, go in and out of the journey with your partner. That is tantric philosophy in a sexual application. But you can live in a tantric way out in the real world.
Right, I didn't know that. I'm learning something.
Where are you from?
I'm born and raised in Melbourne, but father was Kenyan.
Oh, yeah.
And then a bit of travelling myself, but mainly Melbourne.
Oh, cool.
Mainly Melbourne.
What's your spiritual practice?
I think these days my spiritual practice probably would be talking, to be honest. Talking, conversation. I think for me the probably present moment is the cliche way to describe it of meditative practice for me.
Yeah.
And I think the time where I feel most present now is when I'm talking to someone, having an interesting conversation, I'm learning something.
Yeah.
It used to be football.
Yeah.
And I retired from football pretty young.
Football as in soccer?
Yeah. And it used to be that for me. I used to feel like I would get on the field and I would forget everything else. I'd be very present.
Yeah.
And around 25, that stopped being the case. And I started to think about money and what I was getting out of my career and all this stuff. And that's when I stopped playing.
Yeah.
And that's when I retired. And now I do podcasts and do social media because I just love information and conversation. So I feel like content is a great way to do all of that. Whether it's podcasts, whether it's like, walking podcasts, whether it's comedic skits and you're acting, like I lose myself in those kinds of things.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Simon.
Nice to meet you, Simon.
Thanks for
Would
having
you
me.
consider your life ordinary?
I would. Yeah, I lead a pretty ordinary life.
What about your life would you not consider as ordinary?
I think I've got a wife who's pretty not ordinary and very... I think I'm punching, frankly, so very happy with that.
That's a great answer. A great answer. Good stuff. Are you born and raised in Melbourne?
No, I'm originally a Canberran.
Canberra?
Canberra, yeah. But I've been in Melbourne over 10 years now.
Nice. How did COVID change your life?
Oh, shit. Well, it sure did. I was living alone. We'd just started dating. I just opened my own business in 2019, my own consultancy in December. And then 3 months later, COVID happened, so I wasn't eligible for any support or any government handouts. So just had to go work really friggin' hard to make some money during lockdowns. And we decided living apart sucks, let's get a house. And I guess that put us on a maybe accelerated pathway to getting married and where we are now.
Wow, so you guys moved in through that period?
Sure did, yep.
Wow.
Yep, went and got a house out in Heidelberg West. Do not recommend. And
do not recommend?
Do not recommend.
Nah, how come?
It's just a shady area, frankly.
Okay.
But we got excited because it was a nice house, but the area is not good. And so we learned a bunch of lessons about scoping out a whole area, not just a house.
If your life was a movie, right now, what is the audience yelling at you to do?
Get off your ass, man. Like, do something. Like, in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment. And got some things I want to do, but I'm procrastinating with it. So probably telling me to just get off my ass and do it.
What are they?
Got done a lot of consulting, but want to move into doing more product sales and develop products. So have to actually do it. But it's really easy to procrastinate when you're making money and kind of comfortable. So,
Why do you think you're procrastinating?
because it's scary to go out and do something on your own that you might fail at. Have before and succeeded, but every time you do it, it's intimidating. And you might fail.
What's the biggest experience with failure you've had?
Probably my first marriage. It was a big failure, and taken away a lot from that. Yeah.
In what sense?
In lots of what not to do and how to do things better and be a better person.
Yeah.
And try really hard.
What's one specific thing that you think you need to do differently this time around?
Is be more empathetic and listen. Just don't always try and fix. Sometimes it's just listen. Yeah.
What's your relationship like with social media?
Pretty detached. So one of the side effects of COVID was I decided it wasn't healthy for me. Deleted Instagram, logged out of Facebook. I've never had a TikTok or a Snapchat. And I really don't use it, don't like it, don't like how it makes me feel. And I don't think it's good for people.
Not even for your business?
No, so mine's B2B. So, LinkedIn's social media, but everyone's got their real name and business on there, so they tend to be a bit more polite.
Yeah, interesting. And, okay, what age do you think kids should get social media?
I don't think kids should be on social media. It's not like every study that's come out has said it's bad for kids. Like there's no good upside to it. It makes them depressed. It makes them anxious. There's enough of that already without social media heaping on.
How would you deal with the issue of the career aspect of knowing how to use and function social media?
Yeah, you're right. Like it is a bit of a catch-22. You can't learn how to use it without using it. And but I think having a bit of maturity and experience in your life before you log on and have to start dealing with scammers, AI images, fake news, propaganda, negativity, you can kind of help filter it out maybe before just throwing yourself headlong into that pile of competition with fakeness.
At what age do you think children should get social media?
I think the question is, at what age should adults get rid of social media? And the answer is, I don't think we should have social media at all. I don't think we should be giving social media to anyone. Because social media is an ego-inflating, self-celebrating, ego-celebrating, individual experience. I think we need to step away from anything that feeds the ego. We already have a world that's constructed by ego. And I think we need to actually play that down. But the inevitability is that social media is isolating us from each other. And isolation is one of the first ingredients necessary for awaking. Solitude is one of the first things that needs to happen. So I think the internet with AI is we're not going to be able to discern what's real and what's not real. And I think children at some point are going to say, no, thank you, I still prefer the human experience. So whatever's going to happen, I think, is what is happening. But I don't think, for my own child, I'm going to try and keep her away from social media for as long as I can.
And what about the career opportunities that come out of the social media world, right? Like I'm sitting here because of social media.
Yeah. I'm an actor. I should be on social media more, but I'm not. And it's to my own professional detriment. But my philosophy on that is, as a performer, as an actor, as someone who is a bastion of living in the present moment where audience pay money to come and see me live, and they vicariously experience me having a real imagined but truthful experience. It is my responsibility to the audience to do different to what they're doing, so that they get to anchor into my own awakefulness. And as a performer, as someone who is eternally on this path of being with an audience, my interest is to be present, and whatever comes, career out, whether it's billions of dollars or whether it's public profile, that's not my business. My business is being in the present. And that, for whatever reason, so far people have paid me good money to do. And that's how it's worked for me. I'm not saying it works for everyone, and clearly I'm not as famous as I probably should be, otherwise you'd know who I am. But the thing is, my game, the game I choose to play, is one where I relinquish my responsibility of playing societal games. And I just want to be here now, and that's it.
Do you think Australia's drinking culture is good? It's a funny question after all this stuff we've discussed. But I'm really curious to know.
I drank myself into a stupor in my 20s. I did. Because I wanted to fit in to the Australian way of life. I did nothing apart from destroy a lot of brain cells and waste a lot of money. I genuinely feel like Australia's, or any culture that has a binge drinking mentality, is missing an opportunity to self-reflect. And I do think that Australia is a land, we suffer from selective amnesia. There's been a genocide in this country. There's been a whole bunch of trauma that's happened that we are unconsciously unwilling to confront. And therefore, it exacerbates our drinking culture. It exacerbates any culture that makes us forget the past. And I think, if you want to drink, drink. I mean, English people, Scottish people, for them, the culture is to drink. Cool, no judgment, drink. But what is that aligned with? It has things attached to that is self-damaging. And I don't think that that's beneficial to us.
Do you think there's anything beneficial to drinking at all?
Social aspects of it.
And do you think it's beneficial enough that you would want your daughter to experience what it's like to drink?
Yeah, I mean, that's a funny question, because to me, I'm not here to contrive a life for my daughter. I'm simply here to make her feel the safest she possibly can so that she can live her life however she wants to live. I'm not interested in imposing my artistic ways on her. I'm not interested in imposing my lifestyle ways on her, including telling her what social media I know at some point she's just going to pick up the phone and say, yo, Dad, back the fuck up. But the truth is, when it comes to drinking, the way that I will make her perhaps influence her is to give her things that she can focus her attention on that are far more productive. And if she chooses to drink through that, who am I? I can't judge. I did that myself, and I learned the hard way. And maybe she needs to learn the hard way too, I'm not, that's not the kind of father I am.
Great answers, Dashan. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you.
Fantastic.